Well, we're back in the LBJ penthouse talking Texas politics, and it has been another busy week. But this time, we're not going to necessarily talk about the big news stories, the things that dominated the news cycle, like the run to D.C. by the Democrats and the latest run down to the border by our legislative leaders. We're going to talk about some of the stories that have been flying a little bit under the radar. And to kick things off, Mark Wiggins. Mark?
Yeah, Rudy, I'm interested in the fundraising numbers that we just got back, the semi-annual reports this month. The big three did very, very well in that 10-day period, but the rest of the legislature was pretty underwhelming. There weren't a whole lot of huge fundraising hauls in this first semi-annual report. And what that tells me is that, the big donors in the lobby, they don't want to invest a lot of money where there's not a lot of data as far as the elections.
Patrick, what is flying on your radar?
Yeah, I don't think this necessarily flew under the radar this week. I think it's getting increasing attention, but the COVID situation, both nationally and in Texas, I think is going to warrant more attention from the government, whether it be the state government or local governments. What I've been watching is seeing those tensions rise again, and a potential another showdown between the state and local government over their ability to institute new restrictions to try to fight this virus.
Brian, what caught your attention this week?
Well, we talked about it, football. The Longhorns, OU, the Big 12. I mean, the Big 12 without the Longhorns and OU is dead man walking. They are not a real conference. And if those two schools leave, there's going to be a lot of politics behind it, trying to keep them here in the state. So it's going to be very interesting at both the football level and the state level.
Longtime news journalist Neil Spelcher is with us now. And Neil, does the football story kind of overshadow everything now? Everyone loves sports.
Yeah, it does overshadow everything, but it also overshadows politics. So you're going to see here, I think, a heavy involvement by state officials, legislators, all coming up within the next week or two.
I don't think it could come at a worse time for the state, considering all the big problems we have.
Scott, you agree with that, or do you have something else on your radar?
I agree with what everybody has said about those being important stories, but I think in the next week, we're going to have a huge one, which is the next big test for the electricity grid in Texas. I think if we see rolling blackouts, that may change the entire calculus of our politics moving forward through the summer and the next year. One
of the bright moments of the week was Opal Lee being recognized in the state Senate. She is considered to be the grandmother of Juneteenth. Neil, do you think that big moment has been missed?
Actually, it has been overshadowed. It's important, and it shouldn't be overshadowed.
Brian, you're a university professor. What was that moment like?
Well, I think it's very important. Texas has been ahead of the curve on Juneteenth, and I think it's making the Capitol a more inclusive place. We're trying to get rid of some of the things that divided us, make it a more inclusive place for all Texans, but it's going to be a slow process.
Patrick, do you think that if her portrait does hang in the state Senate, that it's a legacy moment?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a pretty meaningful, gesture by the Senate. And again, I think that, having this happen during an otherwise pretty uneventful period of the legislature due to the quorum break, maybe captured a few more eyeballs, at least among those of us who closely watch this, than it would have otherwise.
Mark, I said legacy. Should it be more healing?
Yeah, I think the cynical take is that the Senate has focused so much political capital on passing the social studies curriculum bills that discourage discussions of race. And I'm sure they're eager to flip that narrative into something positive. But I do think it is a very important moment historically, and I certainly hope her portrait does go up.
All right, it's been a busy week, so let's sum it up with one word. Scott.
ERCOT.
Mark.
Monies.
Patrick.
Breakthrough. Obviously, we have these breakthrough COVID cases, and not to be too flippant about that, but also for the Democrats in D.C.
There's not enough hyphens in the world to save that one. Brian, what's your word?
Longhorns.
And Neil, what is your word?
Same old, one word.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for your input. And that wraps up another week in Texas politics.